Hello, everybody, and welcome to Gamer Corner. Today on this episode, I have my very special guest, Jeremy, who is also in our Civil War review. We're going to talk about the Dawn of War 3 trailer and just kind of what to expect out of Dawn of War. But before we get into that too much, we do have a tiny bit of Gamer Corner news beforehand. Right now, Jeremy and one of our other friends, Matt, are currently taping. Basically, they'll be our first episodes of Gamer Corner playthroughs, and they're shooting Dark Souls right now.
Yep, we're playing Dark Souls. Usually, or as of right now, we'll probably just do like funny stuff because Dark Souls has been out for quite a while now. So
yeah, there's no point in doing like a full playthrough or anything, which will probably be the case for most games we do on this. Unless we hit something really hard and fast, it'll mostly just be essentially compilations, but quick snippets of, playing through. Hopefully. I do have something that we started forever ago that I'm still messing with XCOM, and we might get back to that. But yeah, so maybe we'll tape some stuff for Dawn of War 3 when that comes out.
Oh yeah.
But anyway, if you have no idea what Dawn of War is essentially Warhammer 40K, which we've talked about in, I think, before Gamer Corner was actually separated. But it's essentially space guys that there's your good guys, orcs. It's essentially your classic fantasy, but in like the year 40,000.
It's Tolkien inspired fantasy, but in the year 40,000. Mm-hmm. So.
And Dawn of War is their own strategy game. It's not like the Total War one that was coming out. That was a Total War game with basically the
reskinned Total War.
This is all Dawn. It's their own.
It's their own RTS.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Did you hear? Because I know we both watched the trailer. Did you hear the plan as far as how the game's going to be laid out?
I did not. I remember the second game was a squad-based RTS rather than the first one, which was
and it was more individual, customized, whatever.
Yeah.
The plan, from what they've said, is they're bringing bases back as a whole. It's going to be more like the first in that sense, but they're going to keep the individual upgrade. You know how like you could get like heroes that would get special guns and this and that?
Yep.
They're going to try and keep that, but still keep with like... Because there were squads in both of them, but the squads it was basically you had one base that you started in when you were playing multiplayer, and then you just built all your guys from there.
Yeah, it was like a town RTS.
Yeah, it's going to be more base buildy RTS, but they're still going to try and keep that individualized where basically if I have a squad of gun guys and you have a squad of gun guys, they'll be different still.
Yep.
It'll be customizable enough where my squad will be very different from yours, but it'll still feel like the first game.
Yep.
Which they did kind of in the first game. If you remember, like I think it was like the 5th or 6th expansion was when they really started in that customization.
Yeah, that was the Soulstorm one. That was like the last one, I believe, when they introduced the
campaign was really fun, and it really got me excited for the second game. And I didn't dislike the second game, but the multiplayer wasn't nearly as fun because you couldn't build a base. It just felt like you were pumping out tanks and trying to kill the other person's tanks.
I mean, that's exactly what it was. It was more like a chess is what it more felt like, rather than...
Honestly, it didn't. It felt less like chess and more like...
Well, I got my guys and your guys. My guys counter your certain guys and your certain guys.
But it wasn't even hard counters, because if you had a tank, it would counter all the infantry pretty much.
Yes, it would. They just obliterate. Unless you're Terminators.
The point of the game or whatever, the way you played it was you built a bunch of really big, strong super tanks and then a couple squad guys to kind of support them and maybe do enough damage to make your tank win the fight.
Yep.
It did not feel like a squad of, slugga boys did anything or whatever. None of the guys felt like they were worth anything except for the heavy vehicle guys.
Yeah, I mean, by no means were we professionals at the game either.
No, that's true.
Yeah, like... average players.
Yeah, but I think that kind of is the reason, because we get into RTSs pretty good.
Yep.
I mean, I wouldn't say we're like platinum level StarCraft players or anything.
Just average.
But I mean, when we play, we get pretty decent and we play pretty hard because we've done that with Civ. We did that with
Warcraft 3.
Yeah, Warcraft 3. We even did it with frickin' what was that one? Age of Empires 3. Remember when we were playing that pretty hard?
Yep.
And we do pretty well as far as strategy games go. So the fact that we really couldn't get into anything but the campaign was pretty. It kind of
the second one had a cool campaign. It just wasn't very a multiplayer game.
Yeah, definitely. Well, and it almost felt like Space Marine was the end product of like the transformation from friggin' RTS to just like Gears of War. You know what I mean?
I feel bad. Space Marine was so good, and they can't do anything with it anymore because the whole franchise is canned because THC is out.
Yeah,
or THQ, my bad.
And they've completely scrapped because THQ had stuff in the works for Dawn of War 3. Completely scrapped.
Threw it right out the door.
Which the trailer for Dawn of War 3, if you haven't seen it's pretty solid.
Really good.
I would also suggest if you haven't seen any of like the cutscenes, Dawn of War 2's cutscene is probably one of my favorite cutscenes because I have probably like a top 10 in my mind.
Yep.
I kind of lump World of Warcraft all of their cutscenes together because they're
they're
all
so
solid,
good, though.
and it would make up too much of my list.
Yep.
But World of Warcraft's up there. There's a couple from Diablo 2. Like, one of my favorite ones is the one where Diablo turns into Diablo.
Yep.
From a man to Diablo. And then, like, he's with his two brothers and he goes in the portal. That one's super good. And then, honestly, the Dawn of War 2 one, I love. My favorite part is there's a giant robot man. And he grabs the two, like, they're Eldar. They're basically...
he grabs one Eldar and just starts flames like, you will be destroyed.
No, he's like, I have come to destroy you. And then he's, like, bashing one into a wall and just fucking annihilating these guys.
He brings a flamethrower right up to the face,
just annihilating these guys. And I just love the robot, because it's like, you know, he's a robot. So he's, like, very literal. I have come to destroy you, as he's just brutally murdering these things.
Well, did you know those robots actually have space marines in them?
Yeah, they have people in them, but they're still, you know, the machine
they're pretty much
spirit.
robots.
Yeah, we could go into lore for way longer than this
I could
video.
go way into it. I mean, I play Dark Heresy and Rogue Trader all the time, so I'm way into the lore, and honestly, I'm way into 40K. So.
There's like 3 or 4 topics that we know way too much lore about. Star Wars. 40K. I think Warcraft you could technically count because we know way too much about that only from playing all the different games.
I still look at lore and I don't play anymore. So
But yeah, it looks super good, and if what they've said is the case, I think it'll be solid. What would you say you're least excited for and most excited for with this game?
I really do not want it to become like an updated version of the second game. Maybe like a marrying of the two would be great.
Which is what they're saying, but we'll see how that pans out. And what would you say you're most excited for?
Just seeing the new updated character models and just watching the carnage unfold.
I feel like
40K.
Well, and they've even said that what a lot was missed a lot in the second one was the gravity of the battles, because in the first one you could have like this huge like just man-killing giant, like a demon monster who's like 10 times the size of all your other troops, but all your other troops are still running around, and he would literally pick up individual troops and like pop them open and drink them like a soda pop. And it added this like flair to the game because you could literally see him kill an individual troop instead of just sort of shooting. Like, it didn't feel like the animation was static or boring.
The explosions happening
because each individual fight seemed like something. Which is what they said they're going to try and recapture. So if they can bring that back, I love the carnage of the 40K universe. It's all death. And I mean, the trailer says that's what it is. So if we can get that back, the horrors of the 40K, you know, universe. What races, because from what I've seen, it's so far it looks just Eldar, Orc, and frickin' Space Marine.
That's what I looked at the store page because everything on Steam right now, and that's what they have right now. I bet, you know, anything they'll come up with expansions. So
yeah, DLC for these other races drives me up a wall. And I get why they do it, but if it's not like $5, I'm gonna be pissed. Or honestly, I love how Civ does their DLC. It's like $10, but you get like 7 different races, and they completely reformat the game. I much rather would have that.
Well, in previous years with all the old DAO games, we had, whenever you got new races, it was always a continuation of that campaign. So
I just want more content than a race. I hate paying $5 for just a race.
I know.
If I get even the littlest amount of content, balance fixes, whatever, I'm
that should
way
be
happier.
patches, though, if you're doing balance fixes.
Civ completely overhauled their system.
Yeah, but they're not like a patchy game, you know.
Right. But that's what I mean. When they did the expansion, because even they did balance fixes in the expansion. So if you play like the first Civ, is pretty rough. But any Civ expansion after that, way more balanced, way easier to play.
Yep.
Well, I think we've used up all our time. So we're pretty excited. We'll see you guys next time in the Gamer Corner.